All right, my theme for this week is really about the pressure plans. I had somebody send me one of these plays from the Bills game. I know Tom Brady was talking a lot about pressure and Josh Allen handling pressure and changing some of the calls up front. And so I just wanted to take a look and break it down here a little bit with the protections, okay, and what you're doing with the protections, okay. So in this particular situation, what's going to happen is they're going to motion and they're going to end up going to a 5-out type situation, okay? And so the first thing that you have to do as a quarterback is identify who the down linemen are, okay? And so, a lot of times you can do that by number or by position, defensive lineman or defensive lineman. But there's a lot of flexibility with a lot of teams now on who they can drop and and who they'll rush. It's not always just, hey, the 4 down linemen are always going to rush. So there's a lot of flexibility. So we have to look at kind of the front and how things are structured. Okay, so when you look at this particular play right here, you might say 1, 2, 3, 4 down linemen right here. Okay, but what we have to realize is, is they're shrunk on the backside. And what I mean by that is, instead of this defensive end right here being out on the tackle, he has shrunk his formation, his position down, so he's more over the guard. Okay, so it's more of what we might call a 5-down look. Some people call it a bear front, where it's like basically he's covering the tackle, he's covering the guard, he's covering the center, he's covering the guard, and then this guy would be covering the tackle. So it's kind of 5-on-5 there. And a lot of that is determined by that backside defensive end. If he's wider in a normal defensive lineman position, then we would just say, okay, it's 4 down, and then this becomes the Will, this becomes the Mike, and this becomes the Sam. Okay, but because he condenses his alignment and gets down here more over the guard, this would be what we would probably call a 5-down look. So we're going to go to those 5 guys right there. Okay, so in an empty look, we've got 5 blockers. We're going to those 5 guys. So what does that mean, Kurt? What that means is our hot is going to be off anybody extra. Okay, so really it's only those 2 guys that are in a position to make us hot. Of course, if they brought this backside guy and they brought somebody else, we'd be hot off the backside. But because of the structure, we're going to go to those 5. Okay, this tackle here would be in a big duel. So if this Mike linebacker comes, which he does here, and this defensive end comes, he's going to duel those 2 guys. In other words, he's going to try to set deeper and then take the most dangerous guy to force the guy that's furthest away from Josh Allen to be the free guy, to give him as much time as possible to make his decision and throw it. Okay, but if they all come, it doesn't really matter. We're hot here. And what really doesn't matter, it doesn't matter what they do on the backside because we've already committed to that. Okay, so just watch the protection. Okay, so you see how they committed to it. Dawkins pops out here. He's committed to this 5 down. Okay, and then these guys go to those 2 guys that are coming, and here comes the Mike linebacker, and he's the guy that's free. He's the deepest guy. He's the guy that's free in this particular look. And so I wanted to show you this front because what it does is it gives Philly the flexibility of dropping this guy, or they could bring this guy and they could drop this guy. There's lots of flexibility with these defensive ends now in whether they drop or come. And we'll see that on these other looks that we show. But anyways, they go 5 down. So Josh is hot off of this guy. Okay, have a pressure plan. Know what you're going to do. Boom, there he comes. Throw your hot. Throw it to him. There's your hot. You're looking in that direction. You're right there. Just throw it to him. This guy's going to be free. Just take your hot and you just live with it. You just go with it. Instead, Josh tries to pull it down and tries to make a play and almost does. And we can say, oh, you should have caught this here. And you can see right here, it's 3rd and long. I get it. We're going to try to pass up the quick hot. I don't know if it's going to get a 1st down, and we're going to try to make a play. But we don't make a play because all of it's off, and we're playing too fast, and we're trying to rush it, and a lot of this stuff happens. Maybe I'm a little bit late on the throw, allowing the defender to get there, whatever. Okay, so you just sometimes have to live with it. You got to understand if you're going to go 5 out, there's a chance for a hot. Throw your hot. Let him get what he can get. Maybe it sets you up for a field goal right here, because he may not get the first down, but he gets close enough to give you the opportunity for a field goal instead of doing this stuff. Because this is a loss. We lose, right? And we can say whatever we want that, it could have, maybe, you should have. I get that, but it wasn't. We lost this down trying to do, go beyond the X's and O's part of it, beyond the play. And Josh has done this a lot. And so again, this isn't a knock on, Josh making plays. It's just sometimes you just got to play the play. And if the play says throw it hot, and you live with it, because there's too many negative plays that happen, being a little late on the throw, or maybe being a little off on the throw, and having to avoid the Mike linebacker and all of these different things. Negative, now we have to punt. But the point on that play is there really wasn't anything he could have done different, right? We don't know who's coming, so we couldn't really do anything different there, okay? Here is a very similar look, okay? So here's a very similar look. They're set up the same way, okay? And it's basically a 5-down situation right here. So this was the one that somebody sent me, and I guess Tom Brady was saying, he made a mistake in terms of, where he should slide the protection here. And I don't think he does. They're in a shell look here, so they could come and blitz anywhere they want. They can blitz from any side. Any of these guys can blitz. They've got safety help that can drop down to either side if they want to bring pressure. And they've got your 5 guys covered up. Okay, so the only other thing that you can do is you say, okay, I've got my 3 receivers over to this side, so I want my hot to be this side. So if there's a thought that they may bring this backside will linebacker, okay, we could slide everybody back to this side, and thus it would leave the defensive end that came on the last play, the Mike linebacker that came on the last play. It would leave both of those guys as a hot. We'd have to slide everything back to this guy right here. What's telling us to slide to him right there? Is it maybe that he isn't over the slot right now? Okay, so he's not out over the slot. But we remember the last time we did this guy popped out and they brought pressure from the front side. Okay, so just because that guy's not out there covering doesn't mean he's blitzing necessarily, but he could, and this safety could surely drop there, or he could come and that defensive end type player could drop to that side. But I still have the problem to the front side if I'm going to slide back there. So what Josh does is basically says, I'm gonna stick with what I did last time, okay? And I'm gonna go 5-on-5. And so if I go 5-on-5 here, as I said before, this guy would make me hot to the strong side. This guy would make me hot to the weak side, okay? So we're gonna have hots on both sides. And I don't normally like to do that, okay? I don't normally like to do that because I could easily, take and slide this all to the backside. And I have no problem, because I like hots, saying, okay, if this guy comes, which is very likely that guy, is going to come, I'm going to have a couple quick throws over here that I think I can beat that guy with the throw. But most people aren't going to want to leave a defensive end type player free. They just don't want to do it. They're going to leave it up to the linebackers and force the linebackers to come, because most times defensive ends are coming. Okay, so let's run it here. Okay, and so, there comes the safety down. Okay, so safety's coming down. And so again, maybe that's where you see it. Like, see how quickly it gets snapped? Okay, so they're not there. Here he starts to come. Okay, so maybe, if this is what Tom Brady's talking about, is you see that late creep, says maybe he's coming on the backside, so maybe I could slide it back there, and you're going to see defensive end, Mike linebacker pop out. So if you do that, you're reading this defensive end, he pops out, I'm not hot, I can read the play out. Or you can say, oh, he's coming, I'm hot. That's no problem. We have to build in hots on both sides of an empty set, okay? Because this can always happen, right? We want to try to avoid it and keep our hot to one side, but there are times where you're going to have hots to both sides, okay? So what I need this guy to do is I need him to recognize and understand he just got to be a little bit quicker here when he sees everything inside of him disappear. And this is the hot and pressure plan. Okay, because if we don't do it on both sides in an empty set, okay, if we mess up the protection, we have to throw a hot into dropping players to the front side. So that's what Josh wants to do, and not really able to do it right here. I'm not even sure this route, if it's a stick route, because he kind of turns back to the inside, so he doesn't give me the option right there. But, and this is what Tom Brady was talking about. Okay, if you can tell, and you know for sure, okay, at this point, like, I don't know. I mean, they're in a structure, and we've seen it, and this guy could easily pop out, and this guy could come like the last play, and now we're hot to the front side. I'm not fully sure, okay? I'm not sure. So I've got to let my guy know, okay, you're hot here. I've got my built-in hots to this side, so nobody needs to adjust anything. He's got a choice route there, which can be my hot, but I just want him to know if that guy comes here, okay, you just got to speed it up a little bit. You could do the same thing, still run your choice, but you need to speed it up. Or as I talked about with Philadelphia earlier in the year, we used to always say, if it's hot, just break out. So I know exactly what you're doing with the hot situation. So I would point out this guy right here to Shakur and go, okay, that linebacker comes, I need you to hot it for me, okay? And so we come back. They don't do that. He doesn't change the protection. We all see why he doesn't change the protection based off the last play. He's looking left to throw his hot. It just doesn't happen fast enough, okay? So maybe he has to buy a little bit of time because it's coming. It's coming right there. Boom, there's your hot. It's coming. Just buy a little bit more time. Buy a little bit more time. That's why we'd like to speed it up a little bit. But now he's in trouble because they pop out the front side and it just becomes another throwaway. Becomes another throwaway. This is what I talk about every week. Have a pressure plan, okay? So if you call it 5 down, you have to have a pressure plan off of this guy. You've only got 5 blockers. You've got to build it in. You've got to talk about it, right? You got to know because it's hard to know what they're going to do defensively, right? Last time, they popped this guy and brought this guy, okay? This time, they're doing the opposite. They're going to bring this guy and pop this guy. I don't know. They've got the flexibility to do it all. I don't get a chance to always see and confirm, right? I'm getting late in the down. I'm getting late in my cadence, and now here they start to creep down. I don't see it. Okay, so we got to be able to play after the snap, not always have to solve the problem before the snap. And that's the problem right here, is I have no problem with what Josh did with the protection. Okay, no problem whatsoever. Let's force them to bring all those guys backside because the safety's in a high position. Now we just got to be able to react, and we got to have a plan for what we're going to do back here to answer the hot in that situation. We don't, and now, again, another lost play as we just throw the football away. Okay, one more look here, because again, it's all off of these same fronts. Okay, so you see condensed, condensed, condensed. Okay, it's the 5 down again. All right, so again, they show it numerous times. They have the flexibility to do a lot of different things out of it. What are you going to do? What are you going to do with your protection? Okay, so I would have no problem, as I said, if we've got 2 quick hots over to this side, I would have no problem to say, okay, we're just automatically going to slide it back to these 5 guys. Okay, and so my hot's going to come off a defensive end. Okay, I have no problem to do that because we've only got, we've got a back going out to the backside. So he could be our hot back there. But we got a 3-by-1 formation. So I want to take care of one side and hot off the other side. But again, a lot of teams don't want to hot off of a defensive end type player. But I have no problem with that because what I know is if this guy comes, who's coming down to fill this void right here? Who's there? There's nobody there. This safety's going to have to come down hard. I'll beat him with the throw. I have no problem with that. But I also have no problem with going, okay, we're going to go 5 down, and I'm going to hot off of any of the stack guys because they're less likely to come, and the defensive linemen are more likely to come. So no problem. If he comes, I'll do whatever. I'll throw my hot over here. I'll throw my hot to that side. I got no problem with that. But we've got to make a decision, and neither one's the wrong decision based off of what we've seen because we've seen both defensive end type players come. Okay, so now what do? Okay, so this is basically the last look. All right, so they bring this guy to the weak side. Okay, and again, I'm not sure exactly what Tom said, but from what the person said to me that sent me the tweet, he insinuated you should you should drop back and go to that side, slide the protection to that side on the last play. Okay, now maybe it was because the safety started to creep down and there's safety help here where maybe now you say, okay, I don't know if he can come. He's got to cover the back to the backside. But regardless, the plays and things happen fast and there's lots of structural things on the back end, but it's the same kind of look. Mike linebackers to the weak side or a linebacker to the weak side, and he came last time with the defensive end. We've seen this defensive end pop off. We've seen this defensive end pop off. We've seen them both come. All of those different things. Okay, but with this guy, he could come and add on here. We saw him add on to the front side. Lots of different things. Okay, so let's watch how it plays out. Okay, so it plays out. The 5 down guys blitz this time. No linebacker blitz. These linebackers stay out here. So it's a good call because he goes with the 5 down here instead of sliding back to a linebacker. Okay, so again, this is a setup screen right here. It wasn't really about the play and the hot. They were just trying to set up a screen. It was simply about seeing the front and trying to decipher, okay, how are we going to block it? Because we saw all 3 renditions of this. This one is the 5 down guys come. The first one was a linebacker and the 4 down guys with the backside defensive end, outside linebacker dropping off. And then we saw the 4 backside guys of the linebacker come and the front side guy fall off. So it's not as easy as, oh, well, they came this time, you should have slid this way. Oh, they brought the 5 down, you should have gone to the 5 down. I just wanted to show you guys the different looks that Philly showed and why it's hard for Josh to know exactly what the structure is going to be and who's going to come on each play. So you have to have a pressure plan built into your scheme. If these guys come, I got to have a hot over here with my back. If I slide it there and this guy comes, I got to have a hot over here to the front side. Like, you have to build in hots. You got to talk about it. You got to be ready for it so we don't just continue to have negative plays against pressure over and over again.